All right, good morning, Acadiana. David Schultz with the Schultzycast, Acadiana Sports Show. It is episode number 12. Did not stay up for the whole basketball game last night once we realized UConn was going to win. Didn't seem to think that there was any need for that. And when you know it, we're a little bit more organized today. Got a good night's sleep, and we're raring to go. We'll talk Cajuns back in the polls. How concerned are we with LSU? Pelicans could win 2 straight. We'll talk about the basketball game last night. How good is the Kentucky job? And there was one more. No, there's one more thing here. Let's see. What was the other one? Just checking out. Talk about being organized. Maybe that was it. All right. That was basically it. So we did that off the top of our head. All right. I need a little rundown on the side there. All right, so the Ragin Cajuns are back in the polls for the first time since 2017. Wow. All right, so that's been a minute. So Tony passed away after the 19 season, so it was kind of down in 2018 and 2019. And obviously, 20 was COVID, so that was an issue. And so it's taken second digs a minute to get it to where it is, and it's taken 15 straight wins to get back into the polls, regardless of their schedule. And I do not mean to poo-poo the teams that they've played. That is just to point out that maybe they aren't as high ranked RPI-wise or ranked at all because, the average RPI of who they've played is about 1, and during the streak is like 141. So that explains that. It doesn't explain winning 15 in a row. All right, we've been through that. Baseball does not. Does it portend to winning to 15-game winning streak? It just doesn't happen. All right, they get Prairie View A&M tonight. All right, Blake McGahee is getting the start to make it 16 in a row. I mean, I don't think there's probably a line, but they would be heavily favored to win that ball game. And then you got to worry about La Tech a little bit. That's a game you got to, La Tech isn't bad. Right, they got some wins. We'll see what happens then and who goes. And yesterday in the press conference, Matt Deggs did say, depending on how today goes, is going to be determining on who pitches Wednesday, right? Because the way the Cajuns are, and it's sad that is the case, but you got to go all out and beat Prairie View A&M, right? I mean, one game took place last night, Arizona and Stanford. Arizona beat Stanford. LSU went down in the RPI, and the Cajuns went down in the RPI. I don't know what everyone else's RPI is, but LSU's 46, and the Cajuns went down to 51, WarrenNolan.com. Based on the one ball game. But you want to see things bottom out. You want to see it go to the 60s. Then you're going to have issues. So you can't lose this ball game if you're the Cajuns. I still don't think you're going to lose again until you play Coastal Carolina. I mean, I happen to think they're going to carry a 23-game winning streak into that Friday night ball game, which is ridiculous. I would have to think they would get some national love if that's the case. College basketball just ended. You get the Masters, so that's where everybody else is going to be focused. And then everyone starts getting in on the NBA and the NHL playoffs, but that just takes forever. So we'll see if the Cajuns get a little bit of love nationally. Let's see where they are in the rankings. I don't know if I have all of them. Looking at Warren Nolan, D1 baseball, Cajuns popped at 19. I mean, they went boom ahead of Coastal Carolina. That's impressive, right? Coastal Carolina was sitting at 20, and the Cajuns popped to 19. All right. And in the coaches poll, Cajuns enter it at 24. So I guess they were getting points the previous week. So they went from 36 to 24. And I think there's some other rankings out there. Let's see. Let's see what else we got here. Sully put it out yesterday. Perfect game. They're 21. National Collegiate Baseball Writers Association, they're 21. Baseball America, they are 24. And as we mentioned, USA Today coaches poll, they moved up to 24. So they're rolling. Cajuns are rolling. 24 15 straight. They got back-to-back games today and tomorrow, both at home, and then they get Marshall coming home, and we'll just see. Again, somewhere along the way, just the way baseball works, right? I mean, like the whole lineup is hitting right now. It feels like the whole lineup is hitting. I don't know if you can have a quieter 330 from Kyle DeBarge, right? I was trying to think out if Kyle is going to be your player of the year, right? Blake Barthol is having a ridiculous season for Coastal Carolina, and so that'll be a great matchup. These two guys. Blake's hitting about 350, or he was, and has some more home runs, more doubles, and maybe have just one more home run. He's got more RBI. So he's having a little bit better of a season. But, I mean, there's still, 6-7 weeks to go in the regular season. And, Kyle had that just awful first 2 weeks of the season. But, Kyle's hitting 331. I mean, the surprise of the year has to be Jose Torres is hitting 318 with 18 runs batted in. There was supposed to be a platoon. He's preventing the platoon because he's playing so well. Duncan Pastor, 310. Josh Alexander, 301. And from the 8th spot for most of the season, he's got 21 runs scored. John Taylor's hitting 299, and I think he's cooled off. Amity, 299. Caleb Stelly up to 292, and he's driven in 19 runs. Connor Higgs is up to 287. That's pretty good. And that's all without Trey LaFleur hitting 400. He got off. He was the one who was hitting in the first 2 weeks of the season. And then he's been banged up a wrist. He's banged up his back, but he's back in the lineup. Mandino is up to 262. Mason Sambo is hitting 316 off of the bench, right? So all of these guys are hitting. Is that going to flip the other direction, right? Is that going to, go the other way where nobody's hitting? We'll see. I don't think it's going to happen until the Coastal series, but Coastal's offense is not the issue. It's Coastal's pitching that is the issue. So we'll see if the Cajuns pitching staff can quiet them down and what the Cajuns offense can do against Coastal. Again, there's no reason not to build this up. All right. If they go into that series with a 23-game winning streak, and I'm right about that, right? Let me make sure my understanding is that there would be no math. But let's make sure I'm correct about that. 1, 2, yeah, because it's 2. Well, no. Is it 25-game winning streak? Hold on. Now I've confused myself in my head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So a 22-game winning streak. All right. It's a 22-game winning streak that they would go into the Coastal Carolina series. And that will be by far the biggest game of the year. You want to say it was Vanderbilt and LSU because it's Power 5 and it's in Houston? Okay. But certainly it'll be the biggest ball game that Friday night ball game next Friday, to me, is going to kind of set the tone for the back end of the season. The Cajuns, to be honest, Arkansas State, ODU, ULM, and Marshall is the complete opposite of what LSU has been through. Mississippi State, Florida, Arkansas, Vandy, and Tennessee. You go in there and you take that first game from Coastal Carolina and you win the series. Now you're saying, okay, now we went to Coastal. Now our RPI is up because we're playing the 22 ranked Chanticleers RPI-wise, and we beat them on the road. So that'll be bonus RPI points. Now come get us. All right. Now Southern Miss comes in. I think that's what it is, right? Yeah. Then Southern Miss comes in, and you can really, really solidify your RPI with some wins over Southern Miss. And now you've kind of set the tone for the rest of the series, rest of the season. You are going to Troy. There is no, and maybe school is over, there is no midweek ball game. That may be finals. In fact, there is no midweek game between Southern Miss and Troy. So that's huge. That'll be good. You do have Jackson State which is their RPI is not great, but they're 18-10. And then you're going to Georgia Southern. So that'll be a big week or so for the Cajuns at Troy, at Georgia Southern. You do wrap it up with South Alabama. But I do think that Friday night ball game is going to set the tone for the rest of the season. All right. And then if they lose the next two games, it doesn't matter. So I think that ball game is going to be a huge buildup. Presume it'll be a big crowd. I'm hearing they're drawing better than before. So that's good. All right. Maybe we'll get Gary Gilmore on. He's such a good dude. This is his final season with Coastal Carolina, battling health issues. They're having a great season. It's going to be a great series. That's a good idea. Let me see if I can arrange that for next week. Let's see what their schedule is. What's their schedule? That's what matters. If they have a 5-game schedule at the same time the Cajuns do, they're at Carolina. So they only have a 4-game schedule. That's a nice game for them. They have a 4-game schedule. So maybe we can set something up for Wednesday or it'd be Thursday or Friday. So record it the day before. All right. It is the Schultzycast episode number 12. We are Acadiana Sports Station. How concerned are we about the LSU Fighting Tigers? They are not in the top 25. They are 46 RPI. They have a tricky game against McNeese? I mean, McNeese is always going to – McNeese has – okay, their RPI is 115. All right, they're 15-14. You want to hear who McNeese has played? They started out with A&M, and then the Cajuns lost all 4. And then they have Arkansas in there. It's almost a tougher schedule than the Cajuns. It might be for right now. So they're battle-tested for sure. And LSU knows this, right? LSU always has a target on their back when they're playing in-state schools, and LSU does a great job of that. I think Skip did it, and then Paul Maneri certainly did it, and now Jay Johnson is doing it. It makes for easy recruiting efforts, easy travel, right, for the teams. LSU goes there, whether it's here in Lafayette or Ruston for La Tech or McNeese or UNO or Tulane. So they do a great job of that. And they know they have a target on their back, and they just lost to Southern, which is not great, Bob, right? That was last Monday during the LSU Iowa ball game. So let's see if they bounce back. But here's the issue. I mean, does anyone believe they're going to take 2 out of 3 from Tennessee? They're 3-9 in the SEC. They could lose 2 out of 3. They're 4-11. By the way, Missouri, who's not very good, just swept Florida. So now you're going to lose 2 out of 3 to Tennessee and then take 2 out of 3 from Missouri at Missouri. If that series with Missouri was at home, you'd feel better about it. But I mean, if they don't win a series here soon, they're not going to the tournament. They would have to go on a serious run. Like we were kind of joking, are they in danger of missing the tournament? Until you win an SEC series, I think they're in danger of missing the tournament. It does get easier, but, just to go say we haven't won an SEC series because we've lost to the top 5 teams in the SEC, but now we're going to go in to Columbia and beat Missouri. They just swept Florida. Now, they're on a little 5-game winning streak, although 2 of those against Tennessee Martin, and they're taking on Georgia this weekend. So I don't think that's a for sure thing. You got A&M, they're coming into the box. You got Auburn, you're going to Alabama. Who knows what Ole Miss and Mississippi State are doing this year, but Mississippi State, beat them. That's where this downfall started. So I'm not trusting that LSU is I think they're in trouble. I think they're in trouble. Do you get a grace period because you won a national championship? Sure. Right. It is with my Patriots, right? We had a good 20-year run. I'm going to be patient while they rebuild. They got it wrong with Mac. They let Belichick go. All right. Now LSU's got it right with Jay and went out and, In fact, I heard Moscona say they've lost 6 straight SEC series. That's insane. That's how I ended up losing a bet that LSU wasn't going to win the national championship. I ended up, it was like I don't know. It was a bottle of bourbon. And then I was going to go, well, give him a bottle. And I'm like, no, they got to give him a bottle he can't get. Right. And so we gave him a bottle of Blands. So, and he didn't like that. So that tells you what that, so take what I'm thinking about LSU with a grain of salt, I guess. I didn't think they were going to win a national championship last year. I just didn't think the bullpen was any good. And, they steamrolled into the postseason. And Paul Skeens and Dylan Cruz were a big part of that, and a bunch of Cable, also a lot of the guys. But I'm not sure if they're doing it this year. I mean, they are, they're struggling. And if they lose 2 out of 3, I'm not sure how much the Cajuns' RPI is going to go up. But if they're on a 520 game winning streak on Monday, their RPI is going to be ahead of LSU's. Right now, LSU is not ranked, and the Cajuns are. So we shall see. All right, it is the Schultzycast. It is Monday morning. Mama Schultz already harassing me. Good morning, Mom. Let's see what else is going on here. I guess we can talk a little bit about the we got the Pelicans. I was so excited yesterday about Calipari and the Cajuns winning streak. I forgot about the Pelicans. So, of course, I go on TV. On Sunday, we recorded at about 2. And it was Sunday evening or late afternoon. And I'm going in with the idea that Zion wasn't playing along with BI. So, of course, I'm saying they're going to get crushed by the Suns. In my defense, I would have said the same thing even if I knew Zion was going to play. So they actually beat the Suns on the road. They're tied with the Suns, but I think the Suns took the season series. So the Suns are technically ahead of the Pelicans. Neither team has a great schedule in terms of easiness. The Suns could be more difficult. They get the Clippers back-to-back. Pelicans get the Trailblazers tonight. The Pelicans finish up with like Sacramento, the Warriors, and the Lakers. So that's not easy. The Suns have the Clippers twice, Minnesota, and Sacramento. So they actually have a shot. They have a shot at being the number 6 seed. The idea to me was, so what would that be? I just want to avoid the Nuggets. I just want to avoid the Nuggets in the first round. So a 6 seed isn't bad. Who do you get? You get a number 3. You get the 3 seed. You get Oklahoma City. So right now, and that's going to go to the end, right? Minnesota and the Nuggets are exactly tied. Apparently, Minnesota won that season series because they're ahead in the standings on ESPN.com. Oklahoma City is 1 game back. So Oklahoma City beat the Pelicans in a game that the Pelicans could have won. I don't know about should have, but could have won. But I think that was without Brandon Ingram. We'll see if Ingram's coming back. You'd like him to be back. Honestly, you'd like him to play in a game or 2 this week and not, shake off the rust if possible. I'm going to doubt that. I don't even know if he's coming back at all. So, but I think if Zion and BI are on the floor, they'll have a shot against Oklahoma City. We'll see. I was hoping to play the Clippers or the Timberwolves in the first round. I think those are better matchups. Mavericks all of a sudden have won 9 out of 10, and they're 5th. It feels like that's out of reach for the Pelicans. So they're fighting to get out of the play-in. And again, they are playing. I mean, they got to beat the Trailblazers. All right. And then they're playing the teams right behind them. It's almost like they knew who was going to be in the play-in series. Sacramento, the Warriors, and the Lakers. Sacramento's 8, Lakers are 9, Warriors are 10. Warriors are in. All these teams are in. The Rockets are out. So these teams have clinched, but the Kings can still get to, all of these teams except maybe the Warriors. The Warriors are 3 games back. That's going to be tough. All right. But the Lakers are only a game and a half back. The Kings and the Pelicans the Pelicans are tied with the Suns, technically, and the Kings are 1 game back. So everyone's still fighting to get out of the play-in tournament. So, hey, look at that. We got 47 viewers here on an early Tuesday morning, dressed like this because going to work out. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday lift early and then showered. Friday I didn't, and that didn't look good, or else I needed to put on a hat. We're off to the Orange Theory this morning following the episode. Please subscribe on YouTube. Also, we are on Apple Podcast and on Spotify. We put the audio up, 5 or 10 minutes right after the show. It's got to download and we got to upload it. So it doesn't take very long at all. So please subscribe to all those. Please rate and review on Apple Podcasts as well. All right, so I think the Pelicans are going to win tonight. They get the Trailblazers, and then we'll see if the Suns beat the Clippers or the Clippers beat the Suns. I mean, the Pelicans could be number 6 as of tonight. You can't lose. Here's the problem: you can't lose to the Trailblazers hoping you're going to beat, the Kings, Lakers, and Warriors. I don't even know if you're going to win 2 out of 3 of those. No. Hey, we're up to 50. I only have so many family members awake at 8:15 Eastern time. Not much of a eclipse down here, right? It was cloudy. I didn't miss anything. I did go outside. No, it rained in the morning. I will say, some friends, were in Chicago. A buddy of mine lives on the American-Canadian border up in way upstate New York. I think they were on an Air Force base, I think is what he said. Let me see what he said, because they were out there watching it. It was pretty cool. I will say that. Let me see what he said. Some got some pictures. We did get some pictures. Let's see here. They're outside on the lake by the old Air Force base. They got a band playing. So it was a big party. Like, schools were canceled and everything like that. So, as somebody who was poo-pooing it, it did seem kind of cool, right? Saw someone posted video of the time lapse in Buffalo, and they made a Buffalo Bills joke, which is funny, but it was kind of neat. And the animals, anyone from birds to cows, thought that it was morning. They got screwed up they got messed up by the sun. They thought it was morning again. They thought the sun was rising. Like, the cows literally went back to the barn to get fed. The birds were chirping like it was sunrise. So a pretty cool event that doesn't happen every day. And as somebody who drove, round trip 7 hours to buy bourbon that I can't find, I can't mock anybody in that case. In fact, I probably should be the one being mocked. Also going to a bourbon raffle this week. We'll see if we can get lucky again. I mean, one of 25, there's 6 bottles. I mean, I got a 1 in 5 chance to get a bottle, right? Better, actually. All right, let's see what else we got. Oh, so UConn wins. They go back-to-back. Just, too much South Carolina on the women's side, too much UConn on the men's side, right? I thought Alabama played really well for, about 30 minutes, and they pulled away. Purdue played well for about a half. And then UConn pulled away right at the beginning of the second half. That's when we decided to go to bed. Just too much UConn. UConn's really good. It does not make me happy about that at all. I'm not a UConn fan whatsoever. I think it's pretty cool that Danny Hurley has this kind of career, started in high school, I think, and, small colleges and group of 5. And he's a little bit too intense for me, but it seems to work over there. And they're good. I think Zach Edey, if you can't find a place for Zach Edey in the NBA, then you're not working at it. Are you telling me we can't get Zach Edey against Victor Wembanyama? I mean, I want to see that. And give Zach Edey a couple of years. He's going to develop because he has to. And you can't defend Wembanyama's outside shot. How are you going to defend Zach Edey's outside shot? I don't even know if he needs to have a 3-pointer, but can stick a 15-foot jumper. Right? And that'll open up the game. I think Zach Edey is going to be a fine pro. It doesn't have to be an old-time great. if he stays healthy, he's a big man. And usually big guys like that, something's going to happen. He's going to fall and injure himself. So, but I look forward to that. UConn's really good, and it is a different team. Did hear people saying it's not back-to-back. It is 2 in a row. Danny Hurley said it's really impressive because it is a whole new team, and it is. So he gets credit. Thought it was a good tournament. It is on a little bit late, but we're getting old. So yay, UConn. No, not really. Not a UConn fan. Nope. Since the days before Jim Calhoun, not a UConn fan, not whatsoever. All right. Having said that, now they're trying to fill the Kentucky job. All right. Nate Oates, about 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central Time, said, "No thanks. I'm staying here at Alabama." As rumors were out there, he had or he hadn't signed his contract, or, the $18 million is not a thing. They'll work around that, or it's not prohibitive of him leaving. He said no. Last night, the press conference, got to ask, and Danny Hurley says he's staying. The big difference is going to be the money, right? That not necessarily Alabama more, but Kentucky with the SEC network money can pay. And that's the difference. Like if I heard that Danny Hurley was making like $6 million a year with UConn, you could make 10 with Kentucky, and you do that over 5 years, or if you're successful, 10 years, that's a lot of money. That's $40 million additional dollars. That goes a long way. I don't think it's about how much Kentucky has fallen. I don't think Kentucky has fallen, and obviously hasn't won anything recently, but I think it's where the other schools are, right? I mean, again, with Alabama, Nate Oates has cover. Got football. At a point, he had softball. They're playing pretty well in baseball. You go to Kentucky, I mean, it is championship or bust. I mean, that's just kind of tough. There are schools like that, Carolina, Duke, Kansas, now UConn probably. And that's a tough existence to live. I just think that's a tough existence to live. It's never good enough. It's never good enough. That's kind of rough, right? I've always thought, outside of a few teams, and it's on a regular basis, if you get to the second weekend of the NCAA tournament, you're one of the top 16 teams in the country. Again, this year, outside of, I'm going to say Purdue and UConn, you get into the final 16, you've had a really good year. All right. Unless you're playing somebody who upset somebody else, you're going to be playing somebody really good in the Sweet 16 and even better in the Elite 8. Right. So you've had a really good season. But that's not the case anymore at Kentucky. They don't base it on, although they've only won 3 championships since 96. Right. We're going on 30 years. Pitino won 1, Tubby Smith won 1, and Calipari won 1. UConn has won all of theirs, 6, by the way, since 99. It's kind of like the Patriots, right? Like the Patriots have won 6 championships. They've gone to 9. Cowboys haven't gone to any since. Oh, that's 9 championships since that. They went to 2 first. So they've been to 11 Super Bowls. Now one of them, in fact, one of the losses was, the Packers, and the Cowboys haven't been there since. The only Patriots Super Bowl appearance was the 85 one that they lost to the Bears, and then the Cowboys went on their run. But, UConn has done all of this. UConn has done all of this, since 99. Now, I don't think it's about how the Kentucky program is. It's just everybody else is caught up, right? Everybody has the money. And, is UConn's facilities that much better than Kentucky? Or is Kentucky's facilities that much better than UConn? I doubt it, right? I mean, there is no cover for UConn, right? It's UConn. I mean, football is almost an afterthought at UConn. But he's the king of the mountain, and he's won a couple of times. UConn is it may not have been a blue blood for, 20 years ago, but it's certainly a blue blood now. I mean, is UCLA, right? When was UCLA's last championship? Are we talking Jim Herrick, right? I mean, UCLA hasn't won a championship in like 40 years. They've been in a couple Final Fours, but they haven't won anything in forever. So UConn, we'll see. So I don't think it's about how bad the Kentucky program is. I think these other people have good jobs. That's what I think. And there's no reason to leave. Now, maybe do you go get a Billy Donovan and he wants to, we mentioned this yesterday, Billy Donovan's been irrelevant, right? Got to go back and look when he was at Oklahoma City. He's been with the Bulls, hasn't won anything. Maybe he wants to, one more go around, kind of like Calipari, right? Calipari was living on, regardless of the contract, Calipari had like basically one more year to turn it around. Like if Calipari didn't get to the second weekend of the NCAA tournament next season, he was done. They were going to fire him. So now he's got 5 more years. So as long as he gets to the NCAA tournament next season, which will be a whole new Arkansas squad, by the way, I think they've all left in this era of the transfer portal. There's nobody left for Arkansas. He doesn't have to get to the Final Four next year. He doesn't, as long as he gets to the tournament, he'll be okay. And, in year 2, if they make a run, he's all set. With Kentucky, and even if he doesn't make a run in year 2, he's all set at Arkansas for a handful of years. Not the way it is at Kentucky. No. I don't think it's about where Kentucky is. I think it's where everybody else has lifted up their program. And, Nate Oates is looking for a new arena. Well, I'm not really sure. How does that affect him? I've always wondered that. Well, he wants a new arena, right? We need a new arena. We're getting a new arena. It's kind of shady here in Louisiana. Like they're trying to reconfigure the PMAC. All right. PMAC is a little bit odd. So didn't realize this for a while. Because I think I haven't been to the PMAC in a long time. But you're standing in line at the PMAC for concession stands in January or February. The doors are right there. You're getting a cold air. All right. So as somebody who grew up going to the Carrier Dome, the doors are separated, right? You walk into the dome. You got to walk through a second door to get inside. And it used to be air pressurized. Like that was the fun thing. Walking through the emergency doors going out, you were pushed out by the air pressure. So the PMAC has to be reconfigured. I don't understand how that helps out the coaches. Like, is another few thousand going to make a difference for Kim Mulkey? Is she getting a cut? Is McMahon getting a cut? I don't understand that. It's different when you're redoing like the Teague or the box, right? And modernizing it for the fans. I don't know if they're looking just to get some, skyboxes and I guess suites in the PMAC. I guess maybe that's it. Coleman Coliseum's a little bit on the older side, but they still fill that up, right? I think Jay Williams actually talked about it like it was a little quiet, with kind of a wine and cheese crowd, but that was because they weren't playing very well in that game. And so now, I'm not sure what a new arena necessarily means. I'm sure they're going to get one built. It's not like Alabama doesn't have the money to do that. It takes 2 or 3 years to build that thing, so you need them to hit the ground running sometime soon. But I'm sure that's going to be the case. But Nate Oates isn't going anywhere, right? So I'm not exactly sure what a new arena does, but they're going to get one. Again, is it a cut? Right? Here's the problem with the new arena. If you want to go the other direction, right? It may bring in the money, but does it take some of the enthusiasm out because you're putting all the money people up front? That absolutely happened when Syracuse went from Manley Fieldhouse back in the day, which is like a Cameron Indoor, to the Carrier Dome, right? Like people mid-court, yell at you when you stand up and cheer because they want to sit down. That's a thing. So you got to be careful with that when you are doing a new arena, putting the high-paying fans who don't necessarily want to stand up for 40 minutes and cheer. Like I have sat, not very rare, not very often, but I have sat in the spot where people behind you tell you to sit down, shut up and sit down while watching a home game. Why don't you guys watch on TV? Right? We're here at the game. We're not going to the symphony, right? Where we're going to stand up and applaud afterwards. We're cheering the game. Now, that's what you have to be careful about when you're building a new arena. And that'll be the same thing for LSU as it would be for Alabama. But I just don't think these other jobs, I think when you have to understand, it's not like Nate Oates has a bad job. Does Kentucky basketball program have more history than Alabama? Of course. But he's already making a bunch of money. And however less pressure there is, probably Nate Oates has said there's no less pressure. But on the outside, or on the inside, there's much more pressure to win at Kentucky than there is at Alabama basketball. But he's got a good job, right? Danny Hurley has a great job. Billy Donovan has a good job, right? You're not exactly taking the Pat Kelce's of the world and here's the keys to the kingdom, right? Where you're making $500,000. You got to win all of your games and the tournament just to get in the NCAA. Whereas, this Kentucky job is going to pay somebody $5 million. Now, we'll see who they get. I mean, at this point in time, do you reach out to a Kim Mulkey? Do you reach out to a Dawn Staley? Right? There's someone saying Scott Drew, but we've been through that. I'd be shocked if Scott Drew. I guess he's got a relationship with Mitch Barnhart. It could be the difference between making $5 million and $10 million. But again, he's got a pretty good life there in Waco, and no Texas and no Oklahoma anymore in the Big 12. He's got it pretty good. All right. He's won a national championship. I'm not sure if Scott Drew is going to leave Baylor to go to Kentucky. Turn down Louisville. Those are pretty equal programs. I'm not sure if there's a big difference. One's in Louisville's in a city more along the lines. Lexington more of a college town, if you will. I think Louisville's a college city. You do have the Derby there and Bourbon, but you have Bourbon in Lexington too. It'll be interesting if Scott Drew takes it. I think he's got a good gig. Then who gets the Baylor job? Again, these dominoes do not stop falling. All right, we went almost 40 minutes, 61 viewers. Please subscribe on the YouTube channel. We are on Spotify and on podcast. We are the Schultzycast. It is episode number 12, and we are Acadiana Sports Show. So we'll cover the Cajuns ball game tonight. LSU's taking on McNeese. You do have the Pelicans, so we got a lot to talk about tomorrow. And one more thing. I was going to say one more thing, but I don't remember. All right. It's good stuff. We appreciate it. Again, on podcast and Spotify and on YouTube. Do have to start to work on the artwork. I do need some thumbnails for YouTube. So actually trying to get my nephew Sam to do it. He seems to be very good at the editing of the artwork on the Twitterverse. So maybe I can get him to give me some basic artwork, or I'll start getting it up there. All right. Thanks very much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. And we will be back again first thing tomorrow, 6:55, Monday through Friday. It is the Schultzycast, Acadiana Sports Station. Have a great Tuesday, everybody. And we'll talk to you again on Wednesday.